it.
Folks, we got recruiting news jumping like crazy. Coach Saban and Bama spoke yesterday in Atlanta for SEC Media Days, and John Ivory's got me ready to pop a bottle with this beat, but I don't know where my bottle is right now. I got to find that. But that's besides the point. You're rocking and rolling on a Wednesday on the hottest show on the streets, number one forum, talking your Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have you guys in here. We're bringing you the show from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. You know what to do. Speaking of the channel, smash that subscribe button right now. Subscribe right now. Get your friends to subscribe. Hit that like button. Give us that thumbs up. Like the show. Make this your network, platform, channel, space to talk Crimson Tide football. Turn all of those notifications on. Hit that little bell so that way you miss nothing when it comes down to Nick Saban and your Bama program. We also got you covered here on Facebook and Twitter as well, streaming to you the show. We got a lot of action, a lot of good stuff to get into today. We're going to have my man Justin Smith, who's been working like clockwork, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, to come on to give an update about the 2023 class, the 2024 class, and there's a certain five-star corner, Kamani McLean, could be making his commitment to the Crimson Tide pretty soon here. So gonna get a chance to talk with Justin on all things in terms of recruiting, but we want to hear from you, the Alabama football fans, today. Light the phone lines up, 205-448-1358. I'm going to call in to let your voice be heard tonight, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. We already got our daily super chat goal of $75, man, as my man Bill, Big Bill from New York, dropped in that $5 donation hat as Dancing Steve getting his job going on right now. And then behind my man Bill, how about Jimmy? Drop it in the bucket, make it rain, snow, thunder, drip, drop, rain, Clay with that $75 donation in the super chats, helping us out here, showing love on the show. Appreciate Bill from New York and Jimmy Clay making it happen right there for us. We also got the Bama Standard has dropped in a $4.99 donation, so appreciate my guys, Justin Riley, all SEC linebacker, Marvin Constant, comedy legend Steve Brown, Bo Scarborough, former Alabama running back, two-time national champion and USFL champion for those Birmingham Stallions. But, John, we're going to jump in right now to the first topic here of the conversation, and that being, Alabama's got two guys that will be preseason Heisman Trophy candidates, and that would be Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Bryce Young winning the Heisman Trophy this past season at the quarterback position, setting single-season school records for passing yards, 4,872, touchdown passes with 47, and total touchdowns with 50. So, Bryce Young coming back, we know what he brings. We know what he's capable of. We know what he can do. But then you also have Will Anderson, who was an absolute terrorizer a season ago. We're talking 101 tackles, the most by any Jack linebacker for a single season. in the Nick Saban era. We're talking about 34.5 tackles for loss, which led the team and led the country. We're talking 17.5 sacks, which led the team and led the country. We're talking about the Bronco Nagurski Award winner. We're talking about the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. We're talking about a unanimous All-American. We're talking about a Heisman finalist that should have been in New York City for the Heisman Trophy conversation. But I digress from that statement. But you got two guys that will open the preseason as Heisman Trophy candidates, Heisman Trophy hopefuls, Heisman Trophy frontrunners, if you will. And on today, on ESPN's First Take, there was a interesting argument going on, which featured one Chris Mad Dog Russo about how, defensive players shouldn't win the Heisman. Defensive guys should win this award. It's an offensive award. So it's an award for quarterbacks. It's an award for running backs. Wide receivers shouldn't even get this award. This is all coming from Chris, Mr. Mad Dog Russo here. And he mentioned how he wouldn't even vote for Will Anderson. He wouldn't even put Will Anderson down to win the Heisman Trophy. He says multiple people would not put Will Anderson down for the Heisman Trophy just due to, once again, in his opinion, it's a quarterback award. It's a running back award. It's a wide receiver award. And I for one, strongly disagree with this statement from Mad Dog Russo, just due to the fact that Will Anderson means just as much to the Alabama team as Bryce Young does. I would argue maybe a little bit more. And this is why I would argue that. Now, Russo says, if you remove Will Anderson from Alabama, you can just grab another 5-star linebacker off the bench, throw him in there. You wouldn't even miss Will Anderson. His impact isn't as big. But if you lose Bryce Young, if Bryce Young gets hurt, it's over. No championship, no national title, no success, no nothing, because Alabama does not have a quarterback that can do what Bryce Young can do. And while I understand Bryce Young is special, Bryce Young is beyond special. Bryce Young is a next-level quarterback, and he was one of the primary reasons why Alabama got to the national championship game this past season. But I would argue this. If Will Anderson was to get hurt, do you really can just throw a Quandarius Robinson out there and think he can do the same thing as Will Anderson? Not saying Quandarius is not talented, but you just can't throw Quandarius Robinson out there and expect him to do the same thing as Will Anderson. It just don't work like that. You just can't throw Chris Braswell out there, and Chris Braswell is good, but you just can't throw Chris Braswell out there and just expect he's going to do everything and more that Will Anderson can do. You just can't throw Keanu Coe. You just can't throw a freshman like Jeremiah Alexander, and Jeremiah Alexander's a freak, but you just can't throw those guys out there and say they're going to do just as much, if not even more, than Will Anderson. Anderson means just as much to this team as Bryce Young does. And I go back to last year. There were 3 games. If you don't have Steel Will, if you don't have a Terminator, if you don't have Mr. Anderson, if you will, Bama probably doesn't win these games. First and foremost, Florida. Yes, Bryce Young had 3 touchdown passes against the Gators in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, the Swamp, in Gainesville. However, game came down to a 2-point conversion for Florida. Steel Will and that defense don't step up and negate that 2-point conversion. Florida ties the game at 31. And we don't know what happens after that, if that would have happened. It took Steel Will and that defense doing that. Then you look at the LSU game. Reminder, and Bryce Young played well in that game, but reminder, the score was 20-14 in Tuscaloosa. Max Johnson and those Tigers were driving the ball late fourth quarter. They got inside Bama's 30-yard line. They got in the Crimson Tide territory. It was about 30-plus odd seconds left in the game, and it took Steel Will and that defense getting into Max Johnson's grill and going, oh, man, no, you ain't going to go here. Roughed him up. Got all up in his grill, knocked him on the ground, put some dirt and some blood on that jersey, and Alabama was able to get that 20-14 win. Now let's say Max Johnson and that offensive LSU would have scored and kicked the field goal. Final score could have been 21-20 LSU. But that was Steel Will and that defense getting it done there. And then you look at the Iron Bowl, which statistically, Bryce Young's worst game in terms of completion percentage. Bryce Young completed just 49%. 49% of his passes against Auburn at Jordan-Hare last year. Steel Will and that defense kept Alabama in that game. That score was held 10-3 for the longest because of Will Anderson and that defense giving Bryce Young the opportunity to lead that comeback drive to force the 4 overtimes and ultimately win the game 24-22. Everybody talks about the big drive, 12 plays, 97 yards from Bryce Young on the offense with a touchdown pass to Ja'Cory Brooks to force the 4 overtimes. Nobody talks about how that defense of Steel Will kept Auburn at those 10 points. Nobody talks about that right there. So those 3 games, you don't got Will Anderson, Alabama possibly loses those 3 games. Will Anderson's a big deal. I know he's not a quarterback. I know he's not one of these sexy positions in college football. I get that. But Will Anderson, Chris Mad Dog Russo's a real deal. You don't have Steel Will, there's 3 games you could potentially lose there. So when I look at Will Anderson, I feel like for him, he's coming after this Heisman. He's already got it listed as a goal for him personally, along with winning a national championship. So 31, all he's got to do to me is duplicate the same numbers he did last season and then also, add a couple of touchdowns to that if he can get those touchdowns. And I don't understand what's the big deal of being against defensive players trying to win the Heisman. I mean, didn't Charles Woodson win? Charles Woodson at Michigan won. And I know people talk about, but Charles Woodson returned kicks. But Charles Woodson returned punts. But Charles Woodson played some receiver also. But what was the position he was recruited to play at for Michigan? Defensive back. That's a defensive position. That's defense. And Charles Woodson still won the Heisman as primarily a defensive player. So if Charles Woodson can do it, why are people trying to poo-poo on Will Anderson's chances of getting it? Let's see what Steel Will does this season, because as important as Bryce is, and Bryce Young is the real deal, flip the coin up and let that sucker fall. He's the real deal. But Will Anderson means just as much to this team as Bryce Young does. But we'll see what happens. Both of them will be preseason candidates for the Heisman Trophy. We take our first break here, folks. We'll touch that dial. When we get back, we get to your phone calls, your thoughts, your interactions. We get to your conversations. We entertain you right after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up.
9 players have teamed up and released the Alabama Team Paper, which is a video yearbook they've put out for sale direct to fans. Now, for the first time, small dollar purchases from the fans can support the players as a group as well as a great cause, because $1 of every subscription payment is donated to the Boys and Girls Club of America. Be a 5-star fan base and support your team and a great cause with Team Paper. Check it out at teampaper.com/Alabama.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people, we're back into the action from the break on a Wednesday, hump day, hottest show on the streets covering your Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. One of our compadres has been dancing so hard in his khaki pants that we got to get him fixed up. So we'll have Dancing Steven back here for the next show. But we're going to go to the phone lines right now to grab your calls. The call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in, 205-448-1358. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Bill from Springville.
Hey, Bill, what's happening, brother?
What's going on? Thanks for, I don't know if you remember, you replied to me on Facebook a couple months ago. Thanks for doing that. Come from New York, so I listened to Mad Dog for a long time on the radio, and college football is definitely not his specialty. So I don't think he fully understands how good Will Anderson is. And I do understand that, it's a quarterback-driven position, a quarterback-driven award. But Will Anderson's a special linebacker. Do I think he'll win it as a defensive player? It is hard, but I don't think when he says pulling Will Anderson off Alabama, he has no concept. He has the difference in talent levels between Will Anderson and other linebackers. And I also don't think that he understands how good Milrose has looked in the spring either. Not that we ever want to see him play ahead of Bryce Young or something happened to Bryce, but I don't think he understands how good Milrose is also. And I think a dark horse, and I don't know if you would agree with me, for a Heisman candidate for Alabama, I think Gibbs could be a guy that sneaks into the picture as the season goes on.
Absolutely, Bill. Absolutely. I look at, Jalen Milroe, we got to see what he can do more this season, greatly improved in the spring, athletic ability and passing mechanics also. I just feel like why are people so down about a defensive guy with the potential to win the Heisman? Will Anderson is that guy. I mean, if Aiden Hutchinson of Michigan can be in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation, Will Anderson, if he can put together the same numbers he did last year and add a couple of touchdowns, he can win the trophy. But appreciate Bill for that call right there. We go to this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hi, Stephen. Bill from New York. Let me tell you, if my voice even sounds like more ridiculous than it usually does, I'm recovering from ENT surgery. I'm doing the best I can. It was like elective surgery. It's no big deal. But anyway, as far as this stuff about Will Anderson, he don't have a damn thing to worry about. You know why? If he stays healthy, he's gonna be the first player selected in the draft. So you can talk about Heisman, right? This guy is gonna be making the big bucks, and he deserves it because he's a great player and he's a great kid. But who I want to talk about is To'o To'o. I really, really think he's underrated. Stephen, he didn't have like Payne or Barmore or Quinnen Williams in the middle, last year. And plus, he's remember, it was his first year with the team. And, Dale and Smith, these guys might be great this year, but they weren't great last year. And he was getting guys coming full speed on him up the middle. But, and he still made plays. And let me tell you, he can cover, in my opinion, as good as any inside linebacker in college football, And if Dale and Smith, if they don't like provide push, they're going to have to send him up the middle, and he's going to get his sacks. He's a good player. I don't understand why people are down on this guy, and I really wish you'd talk about it because this is something I don't get. And look, man, congratulations on your wedding. I'm so happy for you. It's a beautiful thing. God bless you and the bride, Steve.
Absolutely. Appreciate my man Bill there from New York with that call. Now, getting back to Henry To'o To'o, I understand it was his first year at Alabama. And I guess for a lot of people, we saw him at Tennessee. We saw him dominate at Tennessee for 2 years. So people thought, okay, if he can dominate at Tennessee for 2 years, then he should be able to come to Alabama and immediately make an impact and immediately fit in, and there should be no problem, no issues. But some people learn faster than others. Some learn, slower than others. But the thing for Henry T, he has a year in the system now. He understands what he's supposed to do now. So now there's no excuse. He's got to go out there. He's got to crack some heads. He's got to do his thing. He's got to make plays if he's trying to be a first-round pick, which Jim Nagy, executive director for the recent Senior Bowl, believes he can be that. So hopefully we see a big year from Henry T. But we take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
What's going on, Steve? Elijah from Jersey. How you feeling?
Doing great, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. First off, I want to congratulate you on your wedding. You know, I wish you and the bride much success, man, and for many years to come.
And I appreciate that.
Now let's jump into it, man. People, you know, Will Anderson, let's keep it real. Will Anderson is going to affect the game. He's affected the college game. Almost like Lawrence Taylor affected offenses for the NFL. He's a dynamic player. The best at his position, in my opinion. You know, other people might have their opinions about it, but in my opinion, he's the best outside linebacker in college football, point blank period. Aiden Hutchinson didn't hold a candle to him last year, even though he was defensive end or whatever position you want to call him. But this is my thing. Will Anderson, and I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here, Steve. Will Anderson, I don't feel is going to have the stats that he did last year. Yeah. And I say that not because, you know, I think he's going to have a down year. I say that because if any offensive coordinator out there lets this man control their offense, the head coach is going to fire him while he's up in the booth. This man is going to see nothing but double teams. He will not see one-on-one. He's going to constantly see tight ends. He's going to constantly see tight end and tackle combinations. They're going to run away from him. So in my eyes, he's affected the game just by him being on the field. You know, he's taken away half of the field. You know, as a linebacker, you know, I don't see them running to him. Like, if you was an offensive coordinator, you're going to know where this man is at all times. I don't care what play you're trying to call. You're going to account for that man all times before you account for anybody else on the field. So I just truly feel the offensive coordinators are going to make sure this one guy doesn't beat us. They'll take their chances with anybody else on that defense. But this one guy, nah, he's a no-fly zone. We're not going to play around with him. We're going the opposite way. And I think quarterbacks are going to audible away from him. You know, they'll take their chances with Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner, I believe, is a great player, but right now he ain't no Will Anderson. And you're not going to let Will Anderson beat you. So I think what it comes down to now is how does the rest, with Will Anderson getting this type of attention and doing his job, how does the rest of this defense stand up? Can everybody else on that defensive line beat their man one-on-one? That's what's going to tell if this defense is going to be, okay, or if this defense is going to be superior. Because those one-on-one matchups with a Boygby, those one-on-one matchups with Tim Smith or DJ Dale, or, you know, those are the matchups that have to be won right there. And to me, last year, a lot of those matchups wasn't won. You know, Will Anderson, if he wasn't doing it up front, we wasn't getting the pressure that we really, really needed. But I think that's going to be the key to this defense. Will Anderson's going to get that type of attention. Can the rest of the guys on that front step up when they one-on-one matches? Because in previous years, Alabama has their front seven have been warriors, Steve. You know, the list goes on and on over the last 7-8 years. That defensive line, those linebackers, they've been warriors. Now these guys are looking like soldiers, Steve. It's a difference when you a warrior and you a soldier. And I think it's part of the problem is a lot of these guys, they're happy, they're content just putting on that Alabama jersey. It's like, yo, we made it. I'm on the Alabama team. Those guys in the past, Steve, they represented that jersey to the fullest. They made that jersey what it was or what it is to be an Alabama player. They weren't content. They wasn't no Twitter finger guys. Nowadays, everybody's on Twitter. Everybody's on Instagram. You know, back in the day, they wasn't like that. They showed it on the field and let everybody else talk about how great they was on Twitter or Instagram and things like that. Now everybody want to promote themselves like I'm the greatest, and you ain't showed it on the field yet. But you know, that's just my opinion, Steve, man. And I hope the rest of these guys can step up, win me one-on-one battles, and then this defense would be great. Until then, you know, we can keep saying, oh, this could be the greatest, this could be the greatest. One thing we do know is Will Anderson going to show up. That's one thing we do know. He's going to show up. Is if he's going to bring warriors with him, or is he going to bring regular soldiers with him? I think that's how it looks like to me. You know, Will Anderson's a sure shot. Will he win the Heisman? I seriously doubt it. I just think offensive coordinators are not going to let him beat them. You know, and if I was offensive coordinator, I'll block him with 3 guys. You know, that's just me. But I appreciate you taking the time for my call, Steve.
Appreciate Elijah there from Jersey, my man, giving his thoughts here on the show. And we're going to actually go to a quick topic right here, and this is on Bryce Young, the Alabama junior quarterback, is a preseason candidate for the Davey O'Brien Award, the Davey O'Brien National Quarterback of the Year Award. And quite a few quarterbacks in years past have won this honor, including one Mac Jones, who took it home after the 2020 season. But Bryce Young, a preseason candidate for the Davey O'Brien National Quarterback Award. We're going to go to another break right here, folks. We'll touch that down. If you're still on the line, hold on through the next 10 minutes or call back within the next 10 minutes. When we get back, we'll have my man Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, to talk about all things on the recruiting front. You will hear from Justin. You don't want to miss him. He's coming after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We're back to the action here, folks, from the break. How to show on the streets, number 1 form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Right now we go to the In My Own Words hotline when we pick up the hottest man in the game right now on that recruiting front. Recruiting trail has not taken a break all summer. He's back to give us more of a lowdown, more nuggets here on that recruiting front, that being our own Justin Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Justin, what's going on, man?
Not much to you, and always a good feel.
Great to have Justin on the show right here with us. He's been at the Future 50, all of the different recruiting events here. But first and foremost, man, Alabama bringing in a commitment from a tight end, Martavius Collins, 4-star. But this recruit comes in the 2024 class, if I'm not mistaken here. What was it about Collins' game, to your opinion, at that tight end position that makes him special, or that makes him sort of unique there? Alabama has had some great tight ends in the past under Nick Saban, and discussing guys like O.J. Howard, and Irv Smith Jr. But what sets this man Collins apart here at that position?
I think he's a pretty solid tight end right now. I think he's a bit of an old school tight end in terms of good size at the moment, 6'3", 220 pounds. He's coming off his sophomore season on rise as junior. His will be his junior season, so he has room to grow, could grow another inch or two, continue to I'm gonna say gain weight, but gain more muscle. He's not the fastest kid, but I think he has quickness to his game, a very physical blocker, which is why I feel he's more of an old school tight end. He can catch the football in traffic really well. Really knows how to catch the football in terms of running the seam route or running up the field. Presents a big target for his quarterback. So there's a lot to like about Collins. But being a Tide's second commit in the 2024 recruiting class. I know a lot of fans and I think a lot of people in general say it may be a bit too early to take commits like this serious, which is understandable because we have seen guys decommit after they committed really early, not even when their recruiting cycle was in full swing. So that is understandable. But we'll see how it plays out. A lot can happen from 2 years from now, but I think something that's really interesting in my opinion is that Alabama beat out Ohio State and Notre Dame to get a commitment from Collins. I know Collins told me that Alabama was his dream school when he got the offer, but still that is a pretty huge get on the recruiting trail. It's based on how they have produced at the tight end position, those two programs. So if Alabama can continue to hold on to Collins, I think that would be a huge win. I think the biggest wins in his recruitment are going to be in the future because I think his recruitment is going to ramp up, even though he still may be verbally committed to Alabama. Schools like Ohio State and Notre Dame may pick up things when the 2024 recruiting cycle is in full swing. And also he is a Georgia product. Georgia has had a lot of success with the tight end position as well. Maybe they jump into his recruitment. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how his recruitment plays out in the future and see if the Tide can hang on to him and also just see the way that he continues to develop, see if he could possibly push to be a top tight end in terms of possibly being number one or two tight end in this 2024 recruiting class. We'll see if that is a possibility, I think, during his junior season.
So, Justin, we go from offense to now special teams. And, for Alabama fans, when you can get a good specialist, when you can get a good kicker or a good punter, fans kind of get really happy because for the longest of time, prior to, of course, Will Riker coming in the program, people had their superstitions when the field goal kicker would come up. And then, ever since J.K. Scott left the program, people have been wondering, when's the next boom foot in terms of the punter, the guy that can shoot the ball 60 to 70 yards through the air. Crimson Tide got a commitment from Connor Talty. Now, from watching him and talking to you, he fits more of a punter than a kicker. But what does Talty bring from a specialist aspect that Alabama fans should zone in on, should be excited for?
Yeah, I think Alabama did recruit him as a kicker, but I think punting is probably the strongest part of his game right now. But I think his kicking is pretty good. Kicking long or 42 just has to be more consistent. I think he would continue to grow, continue to get better at that. Was 51 or 52 on extra point attempts, so they're really good as a kicker. But I think his punting was pretty good as well. I think he averaged 41 yards on several punts and down on several punts within 10-yard line as well. So I think he's just a dual threat type of specialist. Could be a kicker, could be a punter, which is always good if you are lacking at one of those positions. You can try him out at different positions. But I felt going into this 2023 recruiting class in cycle that Alabama needed a kicker, and for the reason that you said earlier, with Will Riker heading into his senior season, most likely going to move on at the end of this season. So the Tide will most likely need a guy who they can trust, or at least a guy on their roster they feel they can develop. And Connor looks like the guy who they will lean on in the future. They did offer him a scholarship, which is something they have not done since Will Riker came on board. They have not offered any other kid really an opportunity to have a scholarship. Most of those guys have had preferred walk-on opportunities. So they said that Alabama really likes this kid.
We're just tuning into the show. We got my man Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst of Touchdown Alabama magazine, on the phone lines right now. So, Justin, back here to the offense. Alabama's already got a commitment from a five-star running back and Georgia legacy, Justice Haynes, a freak of an athlete right there at the running back position. But now all eyes turn to what does 5-star Richard Young do? Because you already got guys like Ongus Anganine trying to recruit young. You've got guys like Wilkin Formby trying to recruit young. You've got Justice Haynes himself trying to say, yeah, Young, come over here, man. Come with Bama. Roll this way. Roll this way. If there's a scenario where Bama ends up getting Haynes and Young, 2 5-star running backs, thunder and lightning, if you will, how insane would that be if Bama lands with both?
Yeah, that would be pretty insane for several different reasons. First off, both are talented backs. I feel we are probably one of the only publications who have Justice Haynes as a 5-star at the moment, and I feel he's a 5-star. That is why he's a 5-star on our site. Great balance, tremendous balance. Great runner. Catch football out of the backfield. Great top end speed. I really like the physicality that he runs football with as well. So Haynes is, like you said, was a significant get for Alabama, but they still have their eyes on Richard Young, who has the top 3 of Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon. I think the Tide are still in a good position with him. Of course, Haynes is open to coming on board with him, having him on board as the second running back in Alabama's 2023 recruiting class. It just shows how Alabama wants to keep their running back room filled with talent. I think we have questions heading into this season. How will Alabama spread the football around in terms of their running backs? You take a look at guys like Jameer Gibbs, how Jace McClellan comes back from the injury, how Trey Sanders, Rodell Williams, the younger guys, Manuel Henderson, and also Jamarion Miller. So how do you spread the ball around to those guys? So the Tide definitely want to keep their running back room filled with talent, and I think they are going to be set for the foreseeable future if they can get both of these guys on board. So I feel the Tide are still in a great position with Young. You still say they are arguably the favorite at the moment to still land him. And I think most of the time, over the last couple of recruiting cycles, I think pretty sure Alabama's coaching staff have made it clear that they would take 2 backs in each class.
The last one here on our end, Justin, we do have Justin Smith on the phone lines, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA. Justin, so many people in the chat line are asking about Carmani McClain, the 5-star defensive back. At some point, he's going to make his commitment. Do you know what date that will be, and where is McClain leaning? Where is Alabama in terms of McClain, one of the best, if not the best, corner overall in this class?
If you go by the date that he told the media, the Future 50, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. He said he's looking at December, basically probably during the early signing period. I don't know how true that is. I've had certain guys say that they will be waiting till December, but it's kind of hard to wait till December when you're down to 3 schools, and he hasn't released an official top 3, but he said the 3 schools that he's looking at the most right now are Alabama, Miami, and Florida. Will take an official visit to Alabama during the football season when the Crimson Tide take on the Texas A&M Aggies. He said that he really loves Alabama's defensive back development. He said that it's one of the biggest things that he's going to look at when he makes his decision. He's going to look at which program will develop him the best in his opinion. Has a lot of respect for Alabama's defensive back development. Has a great relationship with their coaching staff as well. Several members of Alabama's 2023 recruiting class, including Tony Mitchell, have expressed interest in recruiting him, helping him get on board. He's a guy with great length and opportunity to see him for the first time in Future 50, and he definitely impressed me with that great length. You guys can go see that play on my Twitter where he basically mirrored the wide receiver's route. Jonte Cook, the 5-star wide receiver, who's verbally committed to Texas at the moment, basically mirrored his route, got his head around and used his great length to knock the football out of the air, which I don't know how he even touched the football. It looked like the football was basically out of reach of the wide receiver in his lengthy arms and the length that he has, especially when he's jumping in there, was able to disrupt the play. So he's definitely, in my opinion, worthy of the rating and ranking that you see him have on multiple recruiting sites. He's secure to watch as a cornerback. Just one of those guys, if you went into a lab and created a cornerback in today's game in terms of that length and that athleticism. So definitely see why Alabama is definitely high on him. I think he's very high on the Tide. at the moment, he says he wants to commit during the early signing period in December, possibly. That could happen. It could be earlier, but the Tide are in a good position. If he did commit pretty soon, I think the Tide would be the favorite to land him, but we'll see what happens.
He is Justin Smith, ladies and gentlemen, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, coming on here to give us the lowdown on that recruiting front. All eyes in terms of Crimson Tide Nation will be on new cornerbacks coach Travaris Robinson, who's been great on the recruiting trail, landing some big names for 2023. Can he land? Cormani McClain remains to be seen. But Justin, as always, man, we appreciate you taking time to be with us, man. Take care of yourself, buddy. Be good out there.
Do the same, Steven.
Absolutely. Enjoy talking recruiting with my man Justin right there. We're going to take a break here, folks. But before we take a break, tonight is the ESPYs. ESPYs are tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. Bryce Young and Alabama are up for awards for the ESPYs. Bryce Young is up for Best Male Collegiate Athlete in Sports, Best Male Collegiate Athlete in Sports, and Alabama is up for Best Game when Bryce Young led the Crimson Tide on that comeback victory against Auburn in last year's Iron Bowl. So the ESPYs tonight at 7, Bryce Young, Alabama involved right there. But we're going to take a break right here. When we come back, we jump back to your conversations. Get those phone lines moving right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. Brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your four-finger bling necklace.
What's up, Bama Nation? This is Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman, and you're listening to my guy, Stephen M. Smith, In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide, roll!
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to WhitwellSports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Look at all these great players in Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Man, wait till I turn up this year. I'm gonna be on the front cover. But what if Will goes off? Or Joe, DeMarco, Chris, Tim, Christian.
Don't wait. Order now at touchdownalabama.com or call 833-483-2624 today.
Christian or Jameer.
All right, folks, we're back in here to the action from the break on a Wednesday hump day. Number one show on these streets. Talking your Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. We got Nona Davis with that $10 donation. The super chat, you guys still showing us love here on the show. Appreciate Nona for that donation right there. And we go to the phone lines to take your calls. The call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. One more time, 205-448-1358. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
It's Stephen M. This is Robert from Mobile.
Robert, what's happening, my man?
Hey, I totally agree with you about the guy saying, well, you know, Mr. Anderson. I know it's uphill battle for him to win the Heisman, but they're just too quick to dismiss it. I've always thought there should be two Heisman, one for the offense and one for the defense.
Right.
There are a lot of great defensive players that haven't had a chance to win it, and they've been just as deserving. Get invited sometimes. There should just be two. You know, two separate sides of the football. I mean, of the game. Because offense and defense are separate. They should be treated. They should be graded separately. Because they're just as good as the best defensive player in college football as there is the best offensive player in college football. They should have done that a long time ago. I wish they had, but they don't. College is always slow to make positive change. But yeah, it's of course that pretty much guarantees no Alabama player is going to win the Heisman as a result, because some of these sportscasters will put Will Anderson up there, and he and Bryce will compete for the same set of votes. So the odds of an Alabama player winning the Heisman are pretty slim to none at this point, especially with Alabama fatigue, and it'd be 3 times in a row an Alabama player. Yeah, we know it's an uphill battle. But to say he shouldn't be invited or anything, that's just ridiculous. Because the season will play out, and we'll see when the season goes on. And to say that Alabama can't win it without Will Anderson, or can win it without Will Anderson, you cited yourself a couple of games that if Will Anderson's not in it, we don't win it. So unless we cruised with Bryce Young through all the other games, if we don't have any tight games, Will Anderson can make a difference in a game that can keep us from winning, like he did last year, and it can happen again. So it's a little bit unfortunate that Will or any other defensive player can't get a real chance at their Heisman because it just seems to go to offensive player because they get the spotlight on them the most, especially the quarterback. But hopefully, sometime in the future, college football will recognize defenses as greatness and start awarding those guys with their own Heisman, which is just as valid, in my opinion, as the Heisman for offense. So maybe it'll happen one day.
Appreciate that thought there coming from my man Robert out of Mobile on the show here on a Wednesday. Gotta shout out my man D. Pickett with that $4.99 in the Super Chats. Appreciate D. Pickett for that. And D actually had a thought. His thought was, Will Anderson's freshman year, which was 2020, he had 7 sacks, and then he exploded his sophomore year. And so his thought was, do I see Dallas Turner taking that same type of jump as a sophomore with, Dallas having 8.5 sacks his freshman year? What can he do this year? I think Dallas can take that jump. When you talk to Will, he says Dallas is just as good as he is. Now, I know that's crazy because it's Will Anderson right here, and he's Dallas Turner. But when you watch Dallas play, you see a lot of similarities between his game and Will Anderson's game. And, Dallas has been working his tail off with my man, Coach Javon Gopi, the sack sensei out of Florida. So these two have been working together, getting Dallas's pass rush moves even more up to par, and he's stacking different pass rush moves together. He's stacking different techniques together to keep offensive guards, offensive tackles guessing on which moves he's going to use to defeat them and ultimately get to the quarterback and create those sacks. So I'm excited to see what Dallas Turner does, and I think he can take that type of jump there that Will Anderson took from his freshman to his freshman year to this past season. We grabbed this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Roll Tide, roll. Steven, what's happening?
William, doing great, man. We had media days on Tuesday, and Coach Saban and the Tide got a chance to speak there. Coach Saban hit on a number of different things, but it was good to hear him talk about I got no faults with Jimbo, I got no outs with Jimbo. We just gonna let October 8th take care of everything itself. And, the players that Saban brought with him, Will Anderson saying we'll address that October 8th. Jordan Battle will address it on October 8th. So it's good to see that Saban, cool, calm, and collected. But his players, boy, they fight for him hard.
There you go, man. I appreciate you updating on me on the media days. I'm not able to watch it up here for some reason. Anyway, I just wanted to tell Nona Davis that I envy her. I don't know if you've seen that in the chat, but it's 68 degrees where she's at.
Wow.
Over in California. So,
wow. That's great.
Yeah. We all could handle that, couldn't we?
Boy, I would take 68 to 70 right now. Right now.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wanted to ask you about I know it's going back in time. I know, but do you happen to see somebody that's going to be on our season for this year that you could compare to Calvin Ridley for a receiver?
Ooh, that's a good. Calvin Ridley was a clean. He was clean. He was a clean route runner. A comparison to Calvin Ridley, maybe Christian Leary, possibly. I mean, but both guys from South Florida, possibly Christian. Put a pin in that. But I want to say possibly Christian Leary. I want to give Christian Leary, yeah.
Okay. All right, then. That's good. I hope all the guys does a great job this year. I hope our offensive line does their job and, brings a hammer down on those that's trying to get through, to break through to the quarterback. I hope we have just a solid block on them. So, anyway, that's all I got for you anyway. Roll Tide.
Appreciate my man William from Iowa calling in there. Receiver that resembles Calvin Ridley. That's a good question. It could be Christian Leary. It really could be. It could be Christian Leary. It could be Jermaine Burton. It could be Trayshawn Holden if he pops this year. I mean, it could be Aaron Anderson, the freshman, but I just really like Leary due to how he came on this spring. Like, Leary in the spring just cut up. 5 catches, 106 yards, a touchdown. He looked really smooth. It looks like he's got it now. Like, Christian Leary's always had that speed, but it looks like Leary's got it now. And coming from South Florida, much like Calvin Ridley from South Florida, I just think Leary could be that Calvin Ridley type. We'll see what happens, though. But we're going to go to this topic right here, and that being one, Derrick King Henry. Derrick Henry, of whom entering his 7th NFL season with the Tennessee Titans, was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2016 draft. This is an individual that is a 2-time NFL rushing champion, 2-time NFL leader for rushing touchdowns, 2-time NFL Pro Bowl selection, a 2020 first-team All-Pro selection, 2020 NFL Offensive Player of the Year, and even though he had a foot injury and missed 9 games last season, he still finished in the top 10 among running backs for carries with 219, rushing yards with 937, and rushing touchdowns with 10. He's trying to have a bounce-back year, but King Henry is headlining all running backs in terms of Madden 23 ratings. Madden 23 The Game by EA Sports comes out on August 10th. I'm trying to get my hands on that game. But according to EA Sports, Derrick Henry has the highest overall Madden rating of 97 among running backs, 97 for King Henry. In terms of speed, he's in the top 5 at number 4 with a rating of 93. So if you're trying to pick up Madden 23 and you want to play with Derrick Henry, you might want to do that because at 6'3", 247 pounds, and he's got an overall rating of 97 and an overall speed rating of 93. That's pretty darn good. However, I thought his speed rating junk had been a bit higher. I mean, we've all seen Derrick break 97-yard runs to the house. 99-yard run. I mean, have y'all not seen him against the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans? I mean, good God. He has some of his greatest, longest, fastest runs against those two teams just by themselves. So that speed rating could have been a bit higher than 93. But I digress. King Henry headlining the Madden 23 ratings for running backs. But take our final break here on the show. When we get back, we dive into the Alabama players defending Coach Saban after the comments Jimbo Fisher made going back to this past spring, going back to the spring, and how October 8th, Alabama ready to settle this on the field. We'll talk about it after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we're back in from the break on the hottest show on the streets, talking your Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And man, Bryce Young's trophy case is looking fatter than Magic City, baby. Bryce Young, another award. He has gotten the best male college athlete. He has the ESPY award for that, as it's just been announced. So add another one to the Bryce Young trophy case. And before we get into the final topic of conversation, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. It's already on screen, TDAwear.com. So get all of your fashion, clothing, swagger, sauce, drip, cultural needs right here, TDAwear.com. Link in the description. You can get yourself set up with all your gear right now in summer workout, 7-on-7, or you can wait to fall camp. That's perfectly fine too. Or you can wait to the start of the 2022 season in September. Whatever you want to do. Whatever time you want to get this gear, check it out right now, TDAwear.com. Show that support for Coach Saban, University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But now, to me, John, one of the coolest parts of media days was, Coach Saban. One of the questions was, Coach, is everything good with you and Jimbo Fisher? I mean, we saw that dust up that happened with you guys, back in the spring, and you talking about Jimbo Fisher and A&M's, recruiting class, and Jimbo responded with calling you a narcissist and whatnot. Like, are y'all good? Y'all okay? Y'all on even playing field now? And, Coach Saban says, Jimbo and I are good. I got no problems with Coach Fisher. I mean, Jimbo, sometimes, people say things about me, and I take it and I learn from it. I self-assess and find ways to make myself better. That's what Coach Saban said. But Coach Saban's players, oh, yeah, they are not afraid to let the real thing fall and have Coach Saban's back on this thing. So Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jordan Battle collectively saying, hey, we heard what Jimbo Fisher said. We heard him. We saw it. We recognized it. We know what happened. But we're going to let October 8th do all the talk, and we're going to address this on October the 8th, which makes October the 8th in Tuscaloosa, Alabama that much more exciting, that much more entertaining. CBS, do the right thing. Make this a night game, please. Begging you, do it. Prime time, 7 p.m. And Will Anderson in particular, Will Anderson goes, look, I saw it. I don't go all up in social media particulars, but we'll handle that. We'll handle that on October 8th. When October 8th get here, we'll address it. We'll handle them at that time. And when the Terminator says this, that gets you real excited because I just go back to 2014 when Texas A&M came down to Tuscaloosa. And all the talk was Kenny Trill Hill for Heisman, right? Kenny Hill for Heisman. Look at Texas A&M. Look at them go. Kenny Hill. Look at all of these wide receivers. And they get down to Brian Denny. And Lord have mercy. They got beaten to death, man. I mean, Blake Sims hit the two-step on them. Derrick Henry ran wild. TJ Yeldon ran wild. Amari Cooper ran wild. Reggie Ragland got a pick. The score was 59-0. I don't even think Kenny Hill could breathe one time in that game. I don't think Kenny Hill finished the season as a quarterback. He did not. They had to put Kyle Allen out there. So, 59-0. And I can see the same scenario here again. Tuscaloosa, Brian Denny this time around between Bama and A&M because Coach Saban knows what Coach Fisher said. Even though Saban's taking the high road here, October 8th, them players and coaches, they're going to be wound up and prepared to go. I mean, Bryce Young, the same thing. I heard what Coach Fisher said, but we setting this thing up for October 8th. Jordan Battle, heard what Coach Fisher said, but we excited about October the 8th. And Saban is good with Jimbo. Nick Saban, he's good with Jimbo. But Saban's coming after all of the foes this year. He's coming after all of the rival coaches this year. I mean, Saban just looked so refreshed on Tuesday, talking about Get all of the coaches up here that be wanting me to retire. What am I gonna do when I'm retired? Like what? Why y'all want me to retire? Saban is not about to retire anytime soon. Did you hear this man Tuesday? He is not trying to retire anytime soon. He's speaking on how much I love this. I love the competition. I love the challenge. I love the intensity. I love playing against the opposition. I love the relationships with players. I love it all. Like, competition, they say, fuels Nick Saban. Saying what he can't do, when is he going to quit, that fuels him even more. Coming off losing in a national championship game, that has him on 10. Like, Saban's ready to go. And October 8th, is just going to be one of those games where he's going to be on one more so than ever. So, love the togetherness, defending the head coach that Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jordan Battle exhibited. And I'm excited to see Saban and Jimbo Fisher on this field. Tomorrow's the last day of media days, and Texas A&M speaks. So looking forward to seeing what Jimbo Fisher is going to say on tomorrow, because he's probably going to be the first coach up. And they're going to have him wired. Coach Fisher, you and Nick Saban good? I mean, Nick Saban says y'all good, but y'all good? You excited, Jimbo, for October 8th? Looking forward to hearing what Jimbo Fisher, Jimbo, got to say there on the big stage. But, as always, folks, you want the best in news, notes, information, and entertainment on your favorite program at Bama Football. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. Now, you download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. For your audio needs, check us out, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, Google Play, iHeartRadio, got you covered there. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I shall make my return on Friday, continuing the conversation that is Bama football. Remember, Tide fans, you can do this. You can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, have those sent to your door. That link will be found in the description. If you're trying to get the fresh edition, print edition of TDA the magazine, you go to touchdownalabama.com. You click join, become a member or a subscriber today. That link in the description. If you're trying to get your hands on the 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of our guys at We Own TheFourthQuarter.com. That's We Own TheFourthQuarter.com. That link is in the description as well. Guys, shout out my man Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, coming on to give us that lowdown, that news there on the recruiting front. Got to shout out you, the passionate fans of Alabama football. All of your donations, your calls, your chats, your conversations, engaging us here on the show. And got to shout out my man John Ivory in the production studio, doing what he does best, dropping those beats and trying to keep my crazy self in line as he does exceptionally well. But until next time, folks, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, you continue doing the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing to not be bored and stay cool. Continue to get yourself those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith, and you've been watching and listening to In My Own Words.